Welcome to another episode of the CPGGUYS podcast. Our co-hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers online, in-store, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Sri and Peter.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the CPGGUYS, and I'm one of the CPGGUYS. I work on the commercial side of things in media, D2C, supply chain, and all things trade rates and below the line media rates. I'd like to remind our audience that you can find all our content at cpgguys.com. And it's rumored that Mr. Bond, my co-host, loves when you all go over to the ratings and reviews section. Might have something to do with the fact that he's from a ratings and reviews ecosystem, and you click that 5-star button. And Peter loves to know what you think of our show and what sort of content you'd like for the future as well. And the easiest way to do that is to rate us on Apple Podcasts by going to ratethispodcast.com/CPGGuys. Also like to remind the audience that we have a new one question, one answer series on Instagram as a IGTV series where we answer one important question in the CPG industry related to in-store, online, e-commerce, D2C, you name it. Less than 5 minutes is an IGTV series. And we have a new series coming up in March 2021. The last one ended late December. And we also now do a Fresh Pour every Monday, and which you just heard in front of this episode. The Fresh Pour, we look at the four most newsworthy articles of the week. And Peter and I actually do a ton of research landing on those four. And you can find that separately on an IGTV series as well called Fresh Pour, or simply listen to it at the beginning of every podcast, which launches on Monday. And now, without further ado, welcoming my co-host, the man of consumer centricity. Insights is his middle name. He loves loyalty. And the CRM guy himself, Mr. Bond. Welcome.
Sri, you're the ribbon to my wrapping paper, the cheddar to my Gruyere. Think about those grilled cheese sandwiches, yum. The Smathers to my Branson. That's a whole belt and it's a fashion thing. Anyhow, Sri, we go together. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I don't even know how to keep up with you two. This is amazing to be with the CPG guys. I'm just lucky to be on the air with you.
We are a force to be reckoned with. We're legends in our own mind, Michael. Let me tell you.
I understand.
In our own minds, if you heard that.
I share that malady with you.
There we go.
So this is alma mater episode. That's what it seems like, as we've all got our alma mater hats on.
If you're watching on video, you'll see a whole lot of logoed headwear involved.
Let me welcome our special guest to the show today, Michael Kahn, CEO of Astound Commerce, who's been kind to us and grateful to join us for the show and talk through e-commerce, user experience, and everything in between today. Welcome to the show, and we'd love for you to tell our audience what you do for Astound Commerce and where people can find Astound Commerce.
Totally. Absolutely fantastic. So, by the way, it's Michael Kahn, but I go by the famous initials MK. So please call me MK. That is my business surname that everyone calls me by for my 200-year career. So that's really important to know. And I'm the global CEO of Astound Commerce. We are a leading global independent digital commerce specialist that produces platform and re-platform work for major brands, both B2C and B2B. And I oversee the global operations that span North America, the UK DACH, and including then our technology and engineering units, which are in the Ukraine, Bulgaria, Turkey, India, and Colombia. And my job is to drive maximum performance and business value on behalf of our clients and everything we do for them every single day, and to accelerate Astound Commerce, a 20-year-old business with a sale as part of its logo and a lot of wins behind our sale right now.
How about that, huh? And where can they find Astound Commerce?
So go to astoundcommerce.com, the greatest place to start in the whole world. And again, we have operations in North America, in the UK, and throughout the DACH region. And the easiest way to find them is reach out to me. Go and reach out to Michael Kahn at Astound Commerce, and I will follow up and connect with anyone who has a question about things digital commerce.
Excellent. So let's get right into it. And the first question, straightforward one, Mike. MK, no longer Mike.
MK.
MK, your story starts as a Wisconsin Badger and you're proudly sporting the hat. And is cemented in advertising. You spent quite a few years in the advertising industry, working with branding, driving brand equity and performance marketing. And now you lead Astound Commerce, focused on user experience and e-commerce as an agency. Can you decompose for us how this journey evolved and, starting with brand equity building and being in the agency world of marketing, and now you're actually running user experience in e-commerce, which is much more lower down the funnel?
Yeah, so great question, and I'll try and make my history as concise as possible. So I was fortunate enough to grow up in an advertising household with a dad who did advertising in the Mad Men era. I went to Wisconsin and was a journalism major and really got to appreciate the printed word and the power of communications. And I spent the first 20 years as an account guy in traditional advertising when that still existed in its form, working at giant agencies and on giant brands. And then I came online in 2000 for the second half of my career. I did digital startups between 2000 and 2005, some B2B, some B2C, and learned and tried all different kinds of things during the web boom and bust. I was fortunate enough to find my way to Performix, a digital performance marketing agency that was part of DoubleClick in 2005. I spent the next 13 years there when we were bought by Google and sold over to Publicis Group. And during that time period, I took Performix from being a Chicago-based company to a digital performance marketing powerhouse with a presence in 57 countries around the world, and leveraging technology and tools and data to drive measurable outcomes. And a lot of that centered on commerce going forward. In my last assignment before coming to Astound, I led the Digitas network in business globally, an agency with a long pedigree of bringing together creativity and technology and media and strategy all together as one. So how did I get to Astound Commerce? A deep digital sense and skills and experience, a lot of it rooted in commerce since 2000, a real appreciation of left brain and right brain skills and opportunity, and that commerce is at the heart of how brands and consumers connect. It's at the heart of everything Astound Commerce does. And it's a place I sought out to be part of because I think they're perfectly positioned in this marketplace.
Before I turn it over to Peter for the next one here, you come from a world of you've represented leadership in some of the world's largest digital agencies, if not the largest. And it was all about brand equity development and love for brands. Do you ever miss that these days?
I don't, because I think what happened in our digital world is that brand equity, brand meaning, brand belief all became defined by user experience and journeys and digital connection points. And so I think literally digital changed the playing field. And at one point you could talk about the story of a brand, about what it meant. Now you have to deliver the experience to dimensionalize that. So I feel like I'm just playing now in the modern day language of how brands are built.
MK, such a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Truth be told, I go by my middle initials. My friends call me VS. I still insist that Shri call me Mr. Bond. Maybe in a couple of years I'll let him elevate his status to call me by that. But anyhow, you can call me VS.
I love VS, but I would tell you that if I had my last name Bond, I would be called Mr. Bond.
I think that's why he does it.
For obvious reasons.
In any event, let's get down to why we are tapping your expertise. Want to really talk about importance of UX and design for commerce and ultimately lower funnel success. Love to hear from you. Are there specific success drivers you'd like to share with our audience on this subject?
Yeah. So I'll say a couple things. Obviously, UX and experience is critical right now, and it is ultimately the most important factor in where brands will win or lose in a relationship with consumers. And I think it obviously all starts to get to the right UX to understand that consumer journey in the most intimate way possible. and understand why the consumer is doing what he or she is doing attitudinally, but really importantly, by all the quantitative behavioral metrics.
Mhm.
So the goal would be to go in and understand that UX and journey to the deepest level possible. And from that intelligence, design the outcomes that will not just meet their expectations, but hopefully blow them away. And I know one last comment from my own personal experience, when I have an experience that exceeds my expectation, my loyalty to that brand is established instantly. And I can give you examples of that. And that establishment has gone on for years.
MK, would it be fair to actually ask for a couple examples?
My favorite example of all time is that I'm a runner and I've been running for 45 years.
Yep.
And I picked up my first pair of Beats headphones, and they came through Amazon delivery. I took them out of the package, turned them on. They said, turn on your iPhone. They said, click this button. I was connected within 4 seconds and went for my first run. And you know what? I looked over at that magic moment and said, I'm all in on this now from this point forward.
Friction-free
Yes.
engagement.
Yes. Frictionless, seamless, right now when I want it. That's the expectation of the marketplace.
Break down the barriers if you want your consumers to adopt and engage.
Totally.
So MK, you made a very profound statement earlier, which, to the extent of brand equity today is about user experience. We just talked about friction free. If there were 2 or 3 other low hanging fruit in the journey of brand equity development, which today is user experience, what would you advise brands?
Yeah. So one is friction free. 2 is be seamless so that I can engage with you no matter what environment I'm in, on my phone, on my laptop, in the store, at a kiosk, and do that in a way. And please know me. Please know who I am. If I've been using Harry's razors for 5 years, don't send me a solicitation to try them for the first time. You already have me. You're filled in my cabinet at home. So please, as a brand, know who I am and honor that relationship, and you'll have me in your back pocket for a really long time.
And speaking of Harry's razors, MK, D2C. D2C is everywhere these days. You can't miss D2C if you're on the board of a if you're on the board of a large CPG brand. There's peer pressure to get into D2C. How important is D2C and e-commerce in a brand's journey in 2021? Is it almost to the point where it's non-negotiable, but is there like a different formula for small brand, large brand, or is universally you have no choice?
I think it's non-negotiable for all brands. The marketplace is showing that, whether you're a startup, a brand that's in your development stages, or a mature one, you've got to figure out your direct-to-commerce strategy, and you've got to figure out how you're leveraging digital to enable purchases and a transaction, because commerce now sits at the heart of how brands and consumers are connecting. And as we know from the research, and like my favorite chart in the whole world came from Q3, where they said in Q3 in North America, we had 10 years of e-commerce growth and acceleration within the last 3 months of 2020. So this is now not a nice to have, this is a must have. And you're seeing companies of all sizes lean in that way, not just the pure plays that got into this 4 years ago.
MK, a comment you made earlier about personalization and not getting the wrong message based upon where you are in the customer journey. While I'm celebrating, as most people who follow this podcast know, the Dodgers' incredible victory in the World Series this year.
So great.
2017 was a very dark year for us. And the day after the Dodgers
Found
lost,
a way to sneak in the Dodgers victory just to rub it into the Yankees.
Oh yeah. The day after the Dodgers lost to the now criminal Houston Astros, criminal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're criminal.
Criminal human Astros.
Totally.
My wound was exacerbated when Major League Baseball sent me an email advertising my ability to purchase Astros victory gear.
Right. Yeah.
How many data points do they have on me? I subscribe to MLB TV and I buy the Dodger package.
Yeah,
They know what I buy from the store.
totally.
It was so offensive to me that for those of you following me, you can go to my LinkedIn profile. I wrote an article on, not just a post, an article on LinkedIn berating Major League Baseball for their failure to use so many data points to target messaging to me. So I'm right with you on that. Sorry, I had to go down that tangent. You threw it up. I had to swing at the pitch.
Well, I just want to say two things. So that is so right. And especially in this day and age, not only the promise of digital enablement, but the process of data to provide leverageable opportunity for a brand or business to not know who you are at this point in time. It's almost unconscionable. And that's another part of the brand experience now. It's not just what my experience was to buy and interact. It's like, how have you communicated with me? And are you in sync with where I am with you in the journey?
So let me build on what Shri asked you about D2C and e-commerce being non-negotiable for brands. I've heard him say it once, I've heard him say it 1,000 times. Brands are focused on delivering some sort of direct partnership with the consumer. We talked in a previous episode with someone about subscription services, subscribe and save on Amazon. How are you and your business focused on this area given user experience?
So we're focused on all things that enable, D2C and on a business to consumer and B2B perspective. We work across consumer goods and we work across HLS and we work across B2B and we work across tech. And we're doing work across all the cloud platforms and we're enabling stores to interact with consumers in every way they need to. And one of the areas that's burgeoning right now is subscription offerings. So the answer is we're doing a lot of work in that space. We have some activations that have started already for some of the clients we're working with along the way. And definitely subscription is an area of focus because that adds to the sticktivity of a relationship between that brand and the consumer.
MK, one of the questions I'd like to ask about subscriptions is, there are hundreds and thousands, if not millions of subscriptions available in the marketplace today for a variety of subcategories. Is there something unique about a subscription formula that actually makes it work and the consumer loves it? Is there something about the user experience, friction-free subscription? Is it about value? Like what drives an amazing subscription?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think probably two things. One, it is value for my buying and brand behavior.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also the intimacy of what you deliver me in value around that buying experience and the cost of those purchases. So if I'm dealing with a beverage company or a wine company, you've now served up content to me that's intimate to my purchases, that's taken advantage of the subscription relationship I have with you. And now I get exchange values and unique opportunities that someone else wouldn't get because of the relationship.
Yeah.
What about going back to DDC for 1 second and just try to close out that question? A rhetoric I hear a lot in the industry is you get into DDC for data. That's why you do it. Whenever I have entered the DDC world, of course, data was one of the outcomes I always got and being closer to a customer for relationship management purposes, but I also counted the numbers. I actually feel in DDC, you have a better ability to govern, control, know, report out on the numbers. I'd love to know your perspective. When someone makes the conscientious decision, they're already an existing brand. They've got 25,000 distribution points. It's in store doors all over the place, national distribution. What's the motivator to get into D2C?
So Shri, great set of questions. So I think one is every piece of research all of us have ever seen is that an omni-channel customer is your most valuable customer because that means they can buy and access you anywhere. And I don't think D2C is a novelty or the only way in. Obviously, we have Amazon and all the other platforms and marketplaces you need to be part of. But D2C does drive and give you the opportunity for a pure brand experience.
Yeah.
It gives you an intimacy of relationship you're not going to get somewhere else. It's going to give you a chance to collect all that amazing first party data to leverage again and again and again. And the other part of it is you can control your pricing with D2C. So you may end up with a more profitable transaction because you've gone to direct to consumer as opposed to going through marketplaces and other channels. Point being is it's not an either or. D2C isn't a fad. It's just now looking at that channel in combination with everything else and a marketplace approach you need to take to all things commerce.
And let me follow up on that quickly, MK.
Yeah, please.
Is it okay? And have you seen brands that build a D2C strategy where they're not making money?
I think we've all seen that with some of the D2C unicorns, which we won't call out by name, that have all come to life and established household reputations over the last 3 to 5 years, have been things that we can all point to for eyeglassware and a lot of other categories. And in some cases have all built that on investment spending, maybe leading to an acquisition at some point, certainly going multi-channel. But yeah, there's been some lean-ins where it's been an investment strategy before you've seen the pure P&L returns.
I wanted to get into the world of Astound commerce, move away from the world of D2C, Amazon, etc. Use it and really jump into the world of Astound commerce. We'd love to know what are the services Astound commerce offers, and in your platforms that you spoke to earlier, how do you as the global CEO of Astound commerce innovate and bring innovation to the company and improve your platform and continue to deliver value for brands?
Yeah, great question. So Astound Commerce works across all of the platforms and clouds out there. We have a very deep relationship with Salesforce and the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, but we work with Adobe and we work with SAP Hybris, and we're doing all kinds of innovation work now with headless solutions and other things along the way. Our skill sets all bucket into experience strategy and mapping, the designing of those experiences to the highest level possible, demand generation strategies for the store destinations we create, and the technology firepower to enable it all. When it comes to innovation, we are listening and talking to our clients all the time about what their needs are today and what they're going to be going forward. We have an extended relationship with hundreds of partners in the digital commerce ecosystem. We're talking to them about roadmaps along the way. And we're spending time now as we enter 2021 with a strategic plan that has components like we are going to maximize the value of every consumer and commerce touch point with everything we do. What are the methodologies to drive that? We're going to go now scale more agile segmented solutions to meet the commerce needs in the marketplace. What does that look like along the way? My job as global CEO is to accelerate all that listening, all that learning, and then turn it into measurable outcomes of us delivering solutions that are agile and adaptable to the current marketplace as it's changing and accelerating. It's a lot of words, but my job is to drive us faster and harder towards being in front of what innovation needs to drive.
And MK, does that mean your partner on the client side is primarily a IT person, a marketing person, a commercial salesperson? Is it someone on the digital center of excellence? Like, who is your primary partner?
Yeah, so much in the history of Astound Commerce, being a 20-year-old digital commerce specialist, it started with the CTO or someone who's in charge of the commerce channel. As commerce now is in the center of enterprise strategy and the way businesses are going to market, we're working with the entire C-suite now. And the decisions around platform work, around going D2C, sit all the way up to the CEO level. And that's where Astound Commerce is playing today. The only thing I want to share with you is we do have methodologies we employ for innovation. We have something called like the Digital Maturity 50, where we can look over at 50 touch points or identifiers around a business and how it's leveraging commerce today. And based on that methodology and review and analytical diagnosis, we can come back and say, okay, here's where you are today. Here's the 5 things you need to go after tomorrow to innovate, to get in front of your competition and lead the consumer.
Is that 50-point process part of the engagement with Astound Commerce? Is this like an article you put out?
It is part of the engagement with Astound.
Thank you.
When I think back to the pre-e-commerce days, retail media, in-store radio, other types of activations. That was traditionally a shopper marketing responsibility, so it was definitely above the line in terms of the investment. Fast forward to where we are now in the midst of this pandemic. Seems like every time I turn on my computer and get an update in my email, Ulta, CVS, Walgreens, they're all getting into this retail media space. So given your background, a couple questions, and you can break these down, but is it here to stay? Are there determining success factors of not everyone's going to win? I remember at my time with dunnhumby, we were kind of the first ones in with customer insights at scale, working with Kroger, and then of course everybody else wanted their piece of the action, and there were some judicious decisions that brands had to make about how they invested against that. So what are the criteria by which brands should evaluate and prioritize the various platforms, and what's a good balance in the marketing mix overall?
Can I also throw in,
Please.
given the solid, rich media leadership background you have, do you have a private chuckle every now and then looking at agencies pop up left and right?
Well, I, do have my perspective on one of the reasons I love being at Astound Commerce, a left brain leaning technology rooted company, is I do believe we do have too many agencies on the planet. I do have that perspective over time. So I think there's a lot of people that are popping up in that space, and I'm not sure if there's a clear runway for all of them. Sorry, all my agency brothers out there.
Very fair.
Right.
I think I took you on a tangent from Peter's questions, so sorry.
You can't just let me have retail media for one question.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
You gotta jump in and insert your own spin on it. Sorry, MK. Let's get back to the core here.
I just alienated everyone I've ever worked with in my career. So thank you, Sri, for that. That was just a great call out.
That was not the goal.
This will be my last interview, so it was nice getting to know all of you. All right,
that was not the goal. That was not the vision. And definitely not the outcome either.
Excellent.
And we're not going to get any agency visitors on our podcast anytime soon. So thank you, Sri.
There you go. Go.
Ahead.
Exactly. All right. So retail media, here to stay, critical part. I think the one thing we know, Amazon has shown that, and especially by the growth of the spending on the Amazon ad platform and its growth in the share of search going forward, is that thing about these retailers is they're sitting at the heart of where brands and consumers connect, the point of sale. So having the media associated with that makes total sense in adjacency. Retail media should be part of your strategy and ongoing basis to drive that conversion and that sales outcome along the way. And I think within your media mix modeling, there's an absolute appropriate place to be across these marketplaces in a Target environment, in a CVS environment, in a Walmart environment, and certainly on Amazon. If it makes sense for your brand, your category, and your distribution, that should be part of the mix like the rest of what you might do in media mix modeling.
But MK, let me double click down on that. Other than as part of a marketplace platform like Instacart, does it make sense for a brand to focus or prioritize against a media agency or platform that's a retail media platform that's been created by, no offense to them, but the likes of a KVAT or a Schnucks? I mean, shouldn't they be focusing on the big players?
So my answer would be is that should get back to the proper modeling of where your consumer is.
Okay.
Obviously, in any media plan, it should be well distributed, and probably you're spending 80 to 90% of your media about where the volume and the majority of the revenue opportunity is. You may be talking about some of these corollary or startup platforms that are worth being in a test and learn budget.
Yeah.
If any of them gain traction, and maybe that's 5 or 10% of your allotted budget and spend. Obviously, you wouldn't bet the bank on that, and you're going to go where the revenue opportunity sits. But I do believe in the role of retail media, and especially in this environment, as what digital is driven, is the opportunity and the need for brands to work at that point of conversion and sale.
Because it's such lower funnel, MK, is it fair that it be part of the marketing mix versus a sales incentive?
Yeah.
Retail media has crossed over into both, Sri. Obviously, in many cases, it's been in the trade budget, and part of that, what that retail sales leadership would go drive along the way. I think it's actually matured and changed, and now being looked at to be another connection point in the digital commerce journey. So
Should the brands be investing everywhere where search and awareness is a core component of the path to purchase?
I think that it's foundational. It doesn't mean you should be everywhere, but it is the foundation of what you're doing. And if you're going to be holistic and driving to conversion, and you want to have your media plan work before the purchase button, at the point of purchase, and then after, then obviously retail media has got a role in all that.
Fair enough.
Understood. So here's the question of the day.
All right.
Sit down. Wait for this one, MK. It's coming. It's coming. Here you go. Shri, hit him.
I just can't believe I just insulted all my agency brothers and sisters.
Did not.
Please edit this.
Did not.
Take that out of here, please.
You did not.
MK, I just alienated everybody in Missouri, Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee. So we're in good company.
Also, if you're a Houston Astros fan, you just alienated.
I want to alienate
and MLB.
People.
Yeah.
They deserve to be alienated.
Watch your back, my friend. Watch your back, Mr. Bond.
From alienation to the question of the day.
Yes.
So you're bang and square in the middle of DTC these days, and you've been for quite some time now. And there's Amazon. Why does a brand need D2C when there's Amazon? Because Amazon fulfills the desire of I'm in e-commerce. It's very friendly from a large retail perspective because it's not radically different from partnering with a large retailer on warehouse space, truckload shipping. Why would one say, yes, I want to, what's the driver? I want to get into D2C.
So I'm going to answer it back in two things, if not three. So one is Amazon's a given, and you need to be there, and another major marketplace is going forward to build your business. One. Two, in that environment, you're going to have less control than you would directly, and you are going to be now competing with just about every other brand on the planet for a share of that consumer intention and wallet. And, way back when, before everything was digital, why would Calvin Klein have opened up direct stores when they were in department stores everywhere? Why did Nike open up single stores? Because it built a brand, because it built a direct relationship, and it ultimately accelerated growth and market share in the marketplace. So I believe D2C is as old as that construct, that there's a role for having a direct relationship with the consumer. You can better control your voice, your experience, your pricing, your merchandising, your testing, and learning all those things and develop that direct connection. And I think it's a complement to what you might do in these expansive, godlike marketplaces. But I think it has a very complementary role, and I think they can coexist together.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the impact of the pandemic on shopping behavior.
Yeah.
There's no question that it has had massive disruption on shopping behavior. Where we buy, what we buy, when we buy. When do you expect new habits to begin forming? Because I would say there are no habits that have started forming. I think there are new things we're doing, but there has not been enough time to do that. In the role you play, how are you helping your clients prepare for all of this transformation? And when do you think that they'll be in a good place to start addressing all the new habits that will form?
So I think that the pandemic has already changed everything. As like I said earlier, right now, they say in the last quarter of 2020, we gained 10 years of commerce acceleration. And that
Brilliant.
was, published by Forrester and other leading entities. So that's here to stay. We're doing this interview by Zoom when we might have done it in a studio at a different point in time. All of our behavior is changing in the way we're interacting, in the way we're getting access to goods, and maybe as importantly anything, in the way we're accessing food and groceries. I know in my household, that behavior has changed so fundamentally this year, more than anything else. that is not going to go away. And even if we open up again, which we will, there has been hard-coded behaviors that have changed because of having a seamless, joyful experience, because it's frictionless. Oh, I didn't realize that was so easy to get what I wanted when I wanted right now on my Tuesday night in Evanston, Illinois. So I think everyone's got the pedal down. I think companies are trying to accelerate to keep up with us. Our job is actually the most important job we can have is to gain the talent to go fulfill the opportunity in the marketplace so we can serve all the brand and business demand that's out there to go realize this transformation and keep up with a consumer that's moving very fast right now across all things digital.
You know, when you start with your alma maters, for those of us watching the video again, you can catch all three of us with our alma mater hats here. A little tip right there. And you get into Amazon and D2C and user experience, the time just flies. So I'd like to remind all of you, you can find all our content on cpgguys.com. Scroll down to podcasts, and we are on 20 plus platforms, and we're 60 plus episodes deep, heading towards 70. And we would appreciate your feedback for us as we shape the show and the content of the show. It's very easy for you to do. Go to ratethispodcast.com/CPGguys and tell us what you think. And I want to also remind our viewers that in the month of February 2021, we ran a month where we focused on public relations, government lobby, and a deep focus on partnerships with the US government, which was a special month for us because I know I learned a ton in the process about brands and communication. MK, we can't thank you enough for your graciousness of time today, for coming over and very transparently sharing your views with us as well. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great way to spend, if I can say this, a Friday afternoon. So thank you. And any day and any time I can wear my Wisconsin Badger hat, that's a good day.
He made my day because he gave me an opportunity to wear the Frank Beamer signed hat. So I
Go Hokies
as well.
So hokey. Wesleyan Cardinals. Wesleyan Cardinals.
Peter, thank you as always.
Shri, thanks. This is a great journey. Couple things to our followers. Two other things beyond what Shri mentioned. They'll be in the liner notes. Do follow us on LinkedIn. It is our primary platform for amplification. Just go to LinkedIn and type in the CPG guys. You can find us very quickly. And if you're not following us, do so. And also follow us on a more visual format, which is both TikTok and Instagram. Yes, we have a TikTok and Instagram account. So definitely very good. And the last thing I'll throw back to Michael. Can you remind our audience, I know you did at the beginning, but tell people where they can find more about your business?
Okay, so it's Astound Commerce, astoundcommerce.com. And my email, saying it to the world, m.kahn, Kahn @astoundcommerce.com.
I'm seeing Bill Shatner in Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan going, God!
Exactly, and just know I'm 24/7, so I'm always on.
Great.
Easy peasy, slipping easy. Golden words from, I'll let you all figure out which movie. It had Tim Robbins in it. And thank you, folks.
You know why? I watched it this weekend, Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, love it. Love the cultural references we sneak into our podcast, people.
Okay, this is my favoriteest episode. Thank you, folks. We will catch you again next Monday with another episode.